the CFO for Orbit Investment. She's a full-time real estate investor since 2002. She and her partner and husband, you can sit right next to me.
Next to me and right.
Girlfriend, yes. They have bought and sold over 4,000 pieces of real estate and built the third largest land investment and auction company in the United States. In 2009, they started building and now hold a portfolio of 50 single-family homes in 30 markets. They also have multifamily. And they have an education company focused on teaching others how to invest in land. She also has an ultimate boardroom for high-achieving real estate investors, and she's just crushing it.
Thank you.
She also knows a lot about tax liens. So they started in tax liens and
For land, though.
for land, but it's that strategy.
It's the same strategy.
Yeah, it's the same strategy, and they have a class on it. So for questions about tax liens, she's a good source. Also, Mary Jo and I we did a training for real estate investor classes on tax liens, so I know a little bit too. Next, I'm going to invite up Kathy Fettke, who has she is. Oh, also you have a podcast too. So Kathy Fettke has a couple wonderful podcasts. Thank you for filling in. So I'm going to have her talking about single-family rentals and turnkeys because she knows that market super duper well, and she'll tell you more about that. But she's the co-CEO of the Real Wealth Network, and she's a best-selling author of Retire Rich with Rentals, which is all about single-family rentals. She's an active real estate investor, licensed real estate agent, and former mortgage broker specializing in helping people build multi-million-dollar real estate portfolios that generate passive monthly cash flow for life.
Right.
You have probably seen her on TV because she's a frequent guest expert on CNN, CNBC, Fox, Bloomberg, NPR, CBS, MarketWatch, Wall Street Journal. Feel like all the time listening to radio, like, oh, there's Kathy Fettke, or there's Kathy Fettke. And she's sharing her brilliance, so we're so lucky to have all these women. She was named among the top 100 most intriguing entrepreneurs by Goldman Sachs 2 years in a row. She hosts the Real Wealth Show, Real Estate News for Investors, and she's going to be up later telling us about updates in the market and what's happening in the economy. So somebody was asking, why do we think a recession might be coming and what's happening? Maybe we'll talk.
We'll talk all about that later.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And her company, Real Wealth Network, offers free resources and cutting-edge education for beginning experienced real estate investors. So definitely check that out. Next, we have Julie Lamb, who you saw earlier. So, Julie, Goodegg Investments. She's been investing in real estate since 2009. So she started investing locally in San Francisco and out of state in single-family homes and duplexes, and has moved into multifamily to scale her portfolio. After investing passively, as you've heard before, she became passionate about passive investing, and she co-founded with Annie, who was up here before, Goodegg Investments, to educate investors about these types of opportunities. So in the last 2 years, she and Annie have co-syndicated over 5,000 multifamily units. 1,500 self-storage units worth over $700 million.
Yes, that's amazing.
So, and because of her passive real estate investment, she was able to quit her job, and she spends most of her time helping investors at Goodegg and with her husband and 3 kids. So she's going to talk about multifamily today and represent that asset class. Carolyn C.J. Matthews, come on down. NationalPlatinumGroup.com. She's the founder of High Octane Systems and co-founder of National Platinum Group, creating purposeful residential assisted living homes and social capitalism. Her specialties are strategic consulting and coaching for rapid business growth. Through webinars, she has helped thousands build international businesses. And she's appeared on NBC, ABC, and Fox as an expert in building businesses and has spoken at Harvard twice on economic issues. So, she's her real estate career started by buying 14 passive cash flow investing properties when she was a single mom making minimum wage.
Wow.
And she now syndicates residential assisted living homes for the elderly. So she's an international best-selling author twice over and contributor to Wealth for Women. Our book, we're gonna have a book signing at 6 p.m. It's one of our authors, co-authors. She's a former Dale Carnegie trainer, dedicated certified long-term care insurance agent, certified life coach, director of coaching and training for traffic advisor, and she's a certified NLP practitioner. And she's here to talk about, assisted living facilities. I know. Yeah, are these things like just a little? So, and then we have Paige Panzarella. You can find her at cashflowchick.com. She's a non-performing notes expert. She's a real estate investor and entrepreneur with over 20 years experience in many different forms of real estate investing. She currently focuses on non-performing notes that she purchases all across the United States. And she teaches a workshop that details how to buy non-performing notes, what to look for, due diligence to perform, and how to mitigate risk. So, having experienced the crash of 2007 and what she calls a very difficult learning experience, you can tell her that it was like a $20 million learning experience. She knows firsthand how life can happen, and her company was founded to help people in distress. People first, profit second is her motto. Welcome, Paige. And last but certainly not least, we have Lol Mamontel of investmentcip.com. According to Lol, her success comes from her attitude, her curiosity to always learn more, and her do whatever it takes commitment. After graduating with 2 master's degrees in international economics and finance, and later feeling life had more to offer than a 9-to-5, she discovered personal development seminars. It later led her to realize that real estate is what she truly loved. So she does commercial real estate, which is going to help her fulfill her goals of financial independence and helping others as well achieve it through acquisitions. And she has multifamily investments, hotels, and a marina and a glamping site. So, are they amazing or are they amazing?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna brag. Bad. Oops. That's okay. Yeah, I brag. I know them. and I brought them here for you. So. All right. So. I'm going to ask each of, so I guess I'll just share, what has you interested in your particular asset class? So just go down, and then what are the benefits and the challenges of each? So,
Awesome. So first, this is working. So you have to turn it on. Flip it up. Oh, right there.
There we go.
Hello.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I mean, this is such a warm group. Yesterday, I had a lot of, is that a thing? Quite a bit of them. And so thank you for the, just warm, amazing community of women here. I normally don't hang out in a big group of women when it comes to real estate events.
You used to be around all day.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm originally an immigrant into the U.S. I came here in 1995, and when we came here, we came to study, got a job with my husband, and I got a job with both. We're both not from here. We're now U.S. citizens, but back then, we did what everyone did or told us to do, which was to get a job. We hated it. And I think the fact that we were, immigrants into the country gave us an advantage and allowed us to see opportunities that others perhaps would miss. And so it was difficult for us. We really wanted to get into real estate, but for us getting into houses was it required quite a bit of complexity, being able to know how to estimate repairs, deal with mortgages, with contractors. It was a lot of moving pieces for us. So for us, it was so much easier to go ahead and look into something like land, where you don't have the 3 T's. And we developed a method, it's called the land profit generator method, to basically find pieces of land for 10 to 25 cents on the dollar and then turn around and sell those either through a flip, wholesaling, or use seller financing. And when we use seller financing, the down payment usually covers the cost of the property, so we have no money out of pocket. And then we get monthly payments for maybe 5, 10, 15 years. And doing that, we've been able to create about $12 million in notes with $70,000 in monthly passive cash flow per month. Just from land.
per month.
Just from
From
land.
land.
So, I think, So I think the beauty of it is just like you noticed, like the landslide was like the last slide on her, on her deck there of the asset classes. So it's a blue ocean. There's no competition. Everyone is running after everything else, and it's so simple. You can do it from virtually anywhere because you don't need to go and see the land. You have Google Earth. You don't need to show it. You don't need to fix any toilets. Flips are usually anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000. So you can do everything that you do when you flip a house. You can do it with a piece of land, and it's just without the complications of the hassles of the house.
So what are the challenges?
The challenges are, I think, for me, that's why the land flipping to this day we continue doing it, and it's our big cash machine. But the big challenge with land is that you don't have any tax benefits. There's no way to basically shelter your profits. So for us, back in 2009, we started basically moving some of our cash profits in cash flow into single families, to get the depreciation expense benefits. And then for the last 4 years, we've also been active syndicators of apartments because, last year we sheltered $1.5 million in income from just apartment buildings. So it's for us, it's a great way to basically have the cash machine going and then using that to then go ahead and allocate it into other asset classes. But to begin, it's a very simple asset class to deal with because there's no mold, nothing. I think there's a couple ladies here that are doing that.
You might get pollution on the
Yeah.
land, but
I think the drawbacks are definitely that there is no tax benefits like you have in an improved property, where you can depreciate or do a cost segregation and
no depreciation on land.
Exactly, no depreciation. That's the biggest disadvantage. But everything else it's simple, predictable. You can get it for very little money, so very low entry barrier. You can do it from virtually anywhere. And we have people doing it from Germany because my husband's originally from Germany, and now we have a bunch of Germans also flipping land from Germany. So it's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Little plug, if you guys want to learn free, how to do this, there's a free Facebook group, Land Profit Generator, and it's a community. There's men there. But they're very, very generous with their time and their knowledge, and
You are going to deal with men in this business. You're not going to be able to avoid them because they're like 95% of the people doing this. And we can talk later about man training, so it works better. But one's really women training.
if it's okay, and I don't want to take too much time, but one thing that we've been able to do with land is when it comes to tax liens and tax deeds is we've been able to go ahead and we don't buy land necessarily that has any back taxes. We buy land all across the board, vacant land, no matter what, infill lots, land that is in the path of growth, or recreational properties. Yeah. So those are the three types of land. But what I wanted to say is that you can go ahead and buy a list of properties that are going to a tax sale, and instead of going and competing at the court steps, to try to buy that property in a tax deed state outright at the auction, you can go ahead and contact the sellers first and try to buy the property for cents on the dollar from them. Record your deed in the county. Let the property actually go to tax auction, and if it goes above the tax amount, you as the last owner of record can collect the overages. You know what I mean? So we've done this in the past with land, and so that's the extent of tax deeds that I know. But that's also an opportunity that you can do with land.
Yeah.
And people are more than likely to let go of a piece of land than to let go of a piece of like a house.
Yeah, so if you wanna end up with the property, your best odds are with land, because like 50% of land will, in a tax lien situation, will end up not redeeming, so when it doesn't redeem, that means it goes to the person who owns the lien. Whereas it's like 10, less than 10% on other types of property, so.
And what I just explained right now is exclusively in a tax deed state, where they actually auction off the property versus the land.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing, wow.
Okay, single family homes. When I first started this, and I'll be talking about it later, I attended every possible seminar I could go to, and there weren't that many back then, and they were all men, and they were like slicksters, like back of the room, boot camp stuff, and so it's I think some of them exist still today, but it was hard. So there were a lot of different things, and I went to all of them, and just the thing that I just sat and went, wait, I get that. Single family homes, I've lived in them. I know what that's like. I can do this. I understand this. It didn't take much. And I think that's what's really nice about owning single family homes, especially as women, is kind of, we know homes, right? That's something we can provide a family a home. That's something we understand. And it's easy to get in and out of because, you put your house on the market, and if it's in a path of progress, if it's near jobs, it'll sell, eventually. So if you need to sell, depending on the time and the market, it can be easier to get in and out of because maybe a larger apartment or even a duplex or fourplex, it would probably sell to an investor, and investors like us like to negotiate and want deals, whereas somebody who wants to buy their a home just wants to buy that home and maybe isn't going to negotiate as much down. So getting in and out, when I started in single family homes, there was no limit to how many you could buy, and we could do 100% financing. So it's like, okay, I'll take, and I was a mortgage broker, so I could do my own loans, and I like that house, okay. And it was pretty amazing. That's how I got started. It was easy to get in them. And fortunately, because of my show, I was able to know where to buy the right ones and that we're not going to implode during the recession. Again, I'll talk about that later. So those are the things I love, the tax benefits, the leverage, the 30-year fixed rate notes that, for 30 years you have the same payment, but rents are going up. So your cash flow increases every year if you raise your rent slightly. And the tax benefits, leverage, get kind of, diversification. I talk to so many people. I'm born and raised in California. And, I see people, yeah. But I do, we don't understand cash flow here. That's not, they understand.
There's an overappreciation, we're like,
That's it. I had a woman come to me and say, I bought a fourplex in Berkeley. Was that a good idea? And it's like, well, I don't know. Tell me more. It's like, well, I paid $2 million. Okay. It's on the fault line, right? Do you have earthquake insurance? No. Okay. What's the cash flow? Excuse me? The what? So cash flow, no, I pay every month. The cash is flowing into it, yes, every month. I'm paying that. So, we just start trained on it. We don't understand it. I watched my parents buy a house when I was in 7th grade, and it made $1 million by the time I graduated from high school. So that's what we know, right? But it's so when people have even now, and sitting in the room, you might have just bought at the right time, and now your asset has doubled or tripled in value. But if you really look at that, you have a lot of eggs in one basket in one area, and an earthquake zone with probably no insurance on that. So you could diversify that one into 10 elsewhere in different markets and just be a little more diversified. So those are the things I like. The things I don't like so much is that the property management is coming along and it's much better, but it's not. It's getting better. It's every property manager. All of every property manager. Yeah. So they're getting better. That's the better. When I started, they were just bad. Yeah. Pretty much all bad. So there's more systems today. There's more technology. There's more franchises that train these people how to actually do it. You can log in and see what's happening to your account. You've got Google, or there's more you can do. But still you're managing a bunch of properties all over, and that's it's not passive. And people really need no matter how turnkey it is, and I specialize in turnkey, it's never actually turnkey. It's actually not a word we even use anymore in our company because it does take your effort and time and attention for sure. Passive would be syndications. And the other thing let's see, just tenants in general, you can get really, really wonderful ones and sometimes you don't.
It's a property management thing.
Yeah.
Right, skin screening and.
But I do have tenants that have been there forever. Most of the time I have tenants who never leave, they stay there forever.
And house tenants are likely to stay longer, a lot longer than apartment tenants.
Yeah, they stay longer, they tend to be, at least the statistics show they make more money. They want to keep their kids in that school and so forth, so I have almost no turnover. All right, thank you.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? I just want to take a quick moment to honor each of you today in this room because the last time I was on stage, I was speaking in a room of like 500 people, like 5% of the people in that room were women. And I can like feel the intensity. I see all these eyes on me and everybody's so intense. At that conference, the men were just kind of like kicked back and everyone was just like, and I can just feel the power. So I just want to take a moment to honor each of you. Give yourselves a hand. So I got started in real estate investing about 10 years ago, and I was just doing the traditional narrative of going out and buying a home because that's what we're taught to do. You're taught to go out and buy a primary home. That's how we grow our wealth, right? But it just so happened that for me, it was 2009. So it was a great time for us to get in. Yeah. And so we ended up buying more properties in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then as the market cycle started to mature a little bit more, we started to see that equity that Kathy was just talking about, right? And as I was trying to think, like, what can I do? What's the highest and best use of this money? Where can I put this where it's going to work the hardest for me and with the least amount of risk, right? And so I found a website, Bigger Pockets, which I don't know if anyone knows about, but check it out. And I fell into this rabbit hole of like, oh my gosh, this whole world of like, I could flip, I can do notes, I can do short-term Airbnb rentals, and I can do all these things. And at the end of the day, I felt like, either there was too much risk and not enough return, or there was, just the metrics didn't really work out, right? And so I was really looking for something that was going to be able to serve me in my life today. So I didn't want to buy like a rental property and wait like 30 years for it to serve me in my life today. I wanted something, like you were saying too, I could buy in the Bay Area, but there's no cash flow, right? So it was like, why am I going to buy there, wait 30 years for this thing to appreciate and see the cash flow? And so I started to buy single family homes because it's kind of like what we all know, right? It's like where we all feel comfortable. Like I'm sure a lot of you have probably considered, maybe I should start there, buying a single family home because it's like what we know. Yeah. And so that's where I started, is I started buying single family homes, cash out of everything out of California, bought in cash flowing markets. So in like Texas, Indiana, Michigan, I was buying smaller duplexes and single family homes. And I was like, this is great, cash flow is amazing. But the flip side of that was that I had to deal with the headaches of being a landlord, which I quickly realized not too, far down that path, that was not what I wanted to do. So I didn't want to, be a landlord and have for $200 to $500 a door, like have to deal with all these headaches. And so I wanted to scale, I wanted to go bigger, farther, faster, essentially. And so I knew I wanted to get into multifamily. But when you think about multifamily, how many of you guys think that's like impossible? Like can't do it. Who can buy an apartment building? I mean, I was definitely one of those people. I was like, I can't afford this like $3 million apartment building. How am I going to do that? But I knew that I wanted to get into that asset class because, as Monique mentioned, it's recession resistant, right? And in 2016, I thought we were at the top of the market in 2016. And so I thought I need to get into multifamily to hedge against occupancy downturns and B classes we were talking about is where the sweet spot is. And so I knew I wanted to get into multifamily, but how was I going to do that, right? I didn't have the broker connections to the good deals. I didn't have all of the money that I needed to buy these large apartment buildings. So how was I going to do that? And that's when I discovered multifamily syndications. So I could buy a piece of these apartment buildings together with partners. I no longer needed the broker relationships, right? I didn't need millions of dollars. I could plunk down $50,000 into this deal and cash flow 8 to 10%. 8 to 10%. That's like in San Francisco, if somebody told me they were going to pay me 8 to 10% cash flow for doing nothing, it was my mind was blown. So I was very interested, but I was very skeptical, right? Who's gonna pay me 8 to 10% for doing nothing? So I probably spent another 6 to 7 months researching and trying to figure out who the players are. And after about 6 or 7 months, I finally discovered an opportunity to be a passive investor in a deal. And that's when everything for me kind of changed. So I can get all the benefits of investing in real estate, right? So why do we invest in real estate? Cash flow, tax benefits, and equity. But now I didn't need the landlording piece. So that for me was when kind of everything changed, and I moved a lot of my money out of the single family homes that I did and moved it into apartment buildings, and I was able to leave my job. Like, how powerful is that for us as women, as moms, with so much that we have on our plates, to be able to now leverage the money that we have and put it to work for us? That's like the epitome of rich dad, poor dad, right? Put your money out there to work for you so that you can focus on doing other things. And that became my passion, is to help other people, discover these opportunities to get out there and, live your life, whatever that may be, traveling, being a mom, etc. And so that's kind of how I got into multifamily. I've now invested as a passive investor in a number of deals, and now that's what we do at Goodegg, is we, help other women. Because I think along with Monique, that if more women can learn to leverage their money in a way that helps them create more time, that the world could essentially be a better place. And so that's what really drives us in what we do at Goodegg, is helping other women, find these types of opportunities so they can leverage their capital and their time. So, and challenges, I guess I would say, knowing who to work with, and understanding, what is syndication, who are the players, what markets to invest in and why, how do I hedge against losing my money? And as Monique mentioned, the number one way to do that is through education. So if you can get out there, spend some time and educate yourself, don't go out there and hand $50,000 to the first person that hands you an investment summary and asks if you want to invest. Go out there, spend the time, educate yourself, understand what you're doing, know who the players are. You're never gonna eliminate the risk, but do what you can to mitigate that risk. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, so what was the first part of the question?
So, why are you interested in your asset class,
All right,
and what are the benefits and challenges?
Yeah, so I started in 1999, so I've gone through a few asset classes depending on the cycle of the of what we're going through in the economic section here of either the world or the United States. So my economic class is assisted living for the elderly. Beautiful class. The reason it's so wonderful is because it is a fabulous hedge against the downturns that we experience. It is going all the time. It's the one asset class that did not lose money, in fact gained money during the last recession. So we know we're coming into a new one, which is why about 2 years ago I said, you know what, that's my asset class right now. Here's the other personal reason. I am single-ish, and and this is and the big thing here is that what's going to happen to me when I retire, because I lost a ton of money, like many of us in 2008, and many you rebuild, but it's one of those things where you're okay. What happens if that happens again? So how do I make sure that I have cash flow? Because wealth is really about cash flow. You can be land rich and money poor.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, that was a big thing. So I started looking around, and understand I'd gone through several, like I had said, I had gone through several asset classes, and I was looking for something where, do I have to work very hard? Can it run itself? Can I just check in with it? So there were I had these little check marks for what I was looking for. Assisted living fit that to a T, because what I was looking for was heavy cash flow, meaning I wanted a lot of it. I wanted real estate in it because it's an addiction for me, and the other piece with it was I wanted to be able to last a long time. I wanted kind of a one and done. So, if you flip, you go back to work every time after you flip it. You get a chunk of change, but then you're stuck doing the next job. I wanted to be able to travel, vacation. I want to be able to do all these different things and not have to worry too much about it. I wanted to have a team that could run the show without me. And so those fit for what I wanted. And it is a cash cow. So when you have it up and running and everything's going well, it's a great investment. Now here are the cons. The biggest thing for me is that you have to get it up and running, and it does take work. And I will tell you, for assisted living, in a single family home, I can explain more about that in a minute. But what you're looking at, even though it's a cash cow, it's amazing how hard it is to get financing. And that's how I learned about syndication. That's how I met Monique. And what you're gonna find is that you have to develop a skill set besides picking the house and starting the business. The other thing is you're starting a business. There's the real estate portion. However, there's also the business portion, which comes with certain things. So you have to learn how to hire. You need to be really good at picking the right person that will make sure that everything runs smoothly for you, and you can let them sit for a month and go away on your vacation to Paris or wherever it is that you want to go, and you can come back and everything will still be running smoothly. You want that type of person, you treat them like gold. Also, licensing is an issue. Because we're dealing with elderly people, we're also dealing in kind of the health world. So there's licensing as well. So that can be easy or hard depending on the state that you're in, okay? A little bit of marketing is required. Sometimes some people have that together. So if you're starting one up from scratch or a dirt to door, you're building one, those are things that are gonna come into play for you. However, when it is set, it pretty much runs itself and you're good to go. So if you were earning $10,000 or $20,000 net, plus all the tax advantages of owning a business, there's, real estate has tax advantages and owning a business has tax advantages. So you're getting a lot more bang for your buck. If you could do that, if it took you 2 years to get there, would it be worth it to you? Oh yeah, right? So that's exactly where we're at with this, is that it may take a little bit of process. If you're lucky, you can buy one that's already up and running. That does not mean you can get money for it. Meaning the mortgage can still be difficult to get. A lot of people start out with an SBA loan. The problem is, if you're smart, you're sheltering your money, and so it looks like you're not making enough. You're making bank, but your taxes don't show that, and if your taxes don't show that, a regular mortgage makes it super difficult. So those are the cons of that particular business. I will also, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about it, the other business that fits that model for me is Airbnb, doing turnkey Airbnbs for investors. And so that's also fit into the model of my checklist that I was talking about. I just want to mention it because I know you ladies, again, Airbnb is perfect for us because we get housing, we get decor most of the time, like we want it to look cute and pretty. And we are also we like being hostesses. We like saying, hey, come to my house, that kind of thing. So it fits us from that space, but also from the money space. You definitely make more than just renting to single family homes. It has its own cons, but someone else will probably talk about that. Just want to mention that. And do you notice these gals' shoes? Yeah, right? So I had ankle surgery and I have sexy shoe jealousy. So I'm like, oh, look at these shoes.
I wanted to make one point too about the assisted living facility and the real estate. So for people who may have, they have a house that would be a fit for it, but don't necessarily want running the business part of it, you can often lease your house out to a facility, to an operator, and they'll pay sometimes 3-4 times the regular rent.
The rent. Yeah, sorry I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people will buy a single family home that has like fire suppression system in it, and they're like, all right, but that's a perfect home. If you find a home with fire suppression in it, yeah, that you could lease that all day long.
And you can make it, they'll pay, so if maybe it's a house that would rent out for, $1,500, you might be able to rent it for $4,500.
Yeah, definitely 2 to 3 times. There's a guy in Colorado that's all he does. It's a guy, so you ladies. Yeah, and he's really good at it, and that's just all he does. He just buys the house, refurbs them, so that he can lease them to assisted living. He does it to
So it's
people,
just-
operators.
Just the land part.
Yeah.
Hello, goddesses. How's everybody doing today? You've heard a lot about cash flow from all of these ladies, and I'm sure you're going to hear about cash flow over here too. As you can gather, really that is, and CJ is right, that's how you build your wealth, no matter what medium you use. As Monique said, I'm known as the Cashflow Chick. My focus is in non-performing notes. Now, I will say that I've been in real estate for over 20 years. Yes, I started when I was 5. Real estate actually chose me. I did not choose real estate. I went into real estate by default. My grandmother passed away. We had a very large estate that was $4 million in debt. And off to Arizona I went in my 20s, knowing this much about real estate investing. So, it's very interesting how you come to this space. I have done over $150 million in real estate transactions to date. I have done just about everything there is to do in real estate investing. And when I was in Arizona, I decided to become a contractor, knowing nothing about being a contractor. I grew very fast. I got somebody that came in and qualified for the licenses. We held all of our licenses, and we had 36 employees. We were building like crazy. I was young, I was single, I was rich, I was hot.
Hey, you're still hot.
Well, you got it.
And then 2007 happened. And I was very fortunate because I had a lot of liquidity, I had a lot of assets, I had cash flowing properties, I had equipment, big, large equipment, I had land. I had a lot. I was much more fortunate than a lot of people. And I decided when the crash happened that because everybody who owed me money, when you're in big construction, you're carrying the invoicing for 90 days at least, okay? So I was running payroll at $25,000 a week. It's $100,000 a month. So everybody that owed me money couldn't pay me, and I decided to liquidate everything, okay? 3 years later, I did pay everybody off, and I walked away having lost $20 million. And I tell you that story because you're all sitting here. How many of you are afraid of failure? Okay, I really want you to change your mindset. Failure is only failure if you don't learn from it. Failure is not failure. Failure can be a very difficult learning experience. We all know that. Every single woman that's sitting on this panel, I guarantee you, has lost money in real estate. It's going to happen, ladies. Seriously, it's going to happen. And if somebody says to you, I haven't lost money, then run, please, in the other direction, because that's
they don't have the butts in the seat.
That's right. So please don't be afraid of failure. Please be afraid of not doing something to help yourself, to help your family, to help your life. Okay? We all have our why. I'm going to challenge you to discover what is your what. And what I mean by that is, what do you need right now? Do you need cash flow? Do you need monthly streams of cash? Do you need chunks of cash? Because that's going to kind of take you, all of these ladies are brilliant, myself included. But it depends on what you need. And shiny object syndrome can be very intimidating to the point that you do nothing, okay? So determine what you need. Do you need monthly cash flow? Do you need chunks of cash? What is your risk tolerance? When I was in my 20s, my risk tolerance was a lot less. A lot more. Now that I'm, 25, my risk tolerance is almost nil, okay? Which is why I chose non-performing notes. I'm in the note space. I've been in this particular asset class for 6 years. It is good to be the bank. Has anybody ever looked at an amortization schedule? If you haven't, I strongly urge you to do so, because if you can take a non-performing note that you buy at a steep discount and get it to reperform, not only are you helping a family stay in their home, but you're making money hand over fist doing it, and you don't have the headaches of tenants and toilets, right? If the AC breaks, they don't call me, they call the AC repair guy. I love this asset class, largely because I can do this anywhere in the world. I am not location specific. As long as I have a computer with an internet and a cell phone, I can do this business anywhere. Oftentimes I do my business in my sweats with my hair in a ponytail. I do not fly and go.
Still sexy.
I don't fly to go and have to look at properties. We do have boots on the ground, but it's not me, right? So that gives me a tremendous amount of freedom. Also, when you buy non-performing notes, you buy them again at a very steep discount, but you also have 23 different exit strategies at your disposal. When you have 23 different exit strategies, you can mitigate risk tremendously. If you buy notes well, it does not matter what the market is doing. Also, I spend $0 marketing for my deals. Zero. So, there's a lot of freedom, there's a lot of flexibility. I get to be the bank, I have control. There's nothing that happens in that transaction that I don't control and put my stamp on. It's also very front-end loaded. What CJ was talking about is you put a team in place, right? You put a team in place and you're able to front-end load your due diligence, so you're involved in the beginning, and then you hand it off to your team and you manage your team. I do that all day long. I can also create chunks of cash and streams of monthly cash flow in the same vehicle. So, again, I have the control. It's a great way, if you want to fix and flip, I call it backdoor investing, because literally you're becoming the bank and you can take control of that property. Now, you have to do, there's of course steps you have to take, and I want to tell you there's a lot of due diligence involved in note investing, and you need to know this is the downfall, or the con, if you will. You need to know what pitfalls to look for, because there are some. It's a great, amazing asset class, but there are some pitfalls and you need to know. I'm very fortunate in that my business, I have created a life where I can actually teach others. And that's how, Monique and I met, is that we're both very passionate about empowering women. And so I get to take time out of my day, week, year, and teach all of you how to do what I do, so you can also be financially free, because that's really, it's huge. After what happened to me in 2007, that was devastating, but I bounced back from it, and it shaped me as an investor. So don't be afraid, ladies, but determine what your what is first. Educate yourself. In notes also, you do need cash. There's no financing for notes. I will tell you that, there's no financing. However, I also teach you how to use other people's money to buy them. So, I think that's it. Did I answer everything?
You did.
Okay.
And last but certainly not least, Dash.
Hello, goddesses. It's so lovely to see all of you. Yes, it's so good to be with women in a manly world. So, thank you, Monique, for having us all here. Thank you so much. So my name is Laura Marmontel, which Monique always says the proper French way. Laure Marmontel, which it's okay, everybody calls me Laura. I am also an immigrant, so I got here 25 years ago when I went to University of Miami. And I got my share of abuse from being an immigrant and a woman, and that wasn't a fun place to be. And thanks to personal development, I discovered real estate education seminars like where we are here, except way back when there was only like maybe one or two. So we're lucky to be here. And so my family in France is in the construction business, so I've always kind of liked real estate. And when I saw the first person telling me I could buy multifamilies, I was just like you, and I'm like, who am I to buy multifamilies? But with the right education and the right support, everything is possible. Pick whatever tickles your fancy here, and you can do it.
Yes.
You can. You can. We are all there at some point. So, Monique has me here to represent hospitality. That's one part of what we do. I grew to be a multifamily syndicator, and actually we just closed on a property 2 days ago, which is a great feeling. 128 units in North Carolina. Everybody wants to celebrate it with anyone or to share it. So. Excited about that. It was a great team effort. But hospitality, so who here likes to entertain people at their home? Right? Everybody. So hospitality for that is a lot of fun. You get to entertain people, you get to see someone different every day. So you can do it on a small scale like Airbnb, or you can do it on a large scale. We own a hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, near Graceland, 240 rooms, 9,000 people a month go through these doors. So that's a lot of entertaining to do for everybody. We even have a restaurant space where Elvis used to come and sit, and Johnny Cash played there, and Jerry Lee Lewis played there, and it's a lot of fun. But I'm not in the restaurant business, and if anyone is interested in JVing to open it, please be my guest. But I'm not touching restoration for restaurants for now. But it's a lot of fun. We also have a conference space, so you get a lot of gratification out of people having a wedding there, or a baby shower. So it's a lot of fun. So those are the pros. Also, we got into hospitality back when 2016 everybody was competing for apartment complexes. No one wanted to invest in oil anymore because the oil market was down, it's still down. So all of these wealthy families from Texas and everywhere were looking for multifamilies because that's where the money was. But then prices became crazy. But the returns were still good in hospitality, and that's how we got there. So these are the pros. Returns are better, and also, unlike multifamilies, you get to change the rate every day. You're not renting to one person for 365 days, you're renting to one person for one night. So if the market goes up and everything changes, then you can increase your rate accordingly, or if there's an event in town, or if the city that you decide to invest in is very proactive and puts on a lot of conventions and seminars and things like that, then your potential for earnings goes up. So that's another. What is another pro of that? So that's basically it. And cash flow, yeah. So the returns, the profitability, it's fun, and it's gratifying. So the cons would be, we also have this, like Monique was saying, it's a glamping resort, which is a glamour camping. So these are the tiny homes. We bought them for basically $30,000. They're really nice. They have AC, a full kitchen, hot water, everything. And we rent them for anywhere between $129 to $259 per night. So that's a nice return, and it's a 14 acres, 3/4 mile of shoreline with 120 boat slips, which is like self-storage basically, without you have to deal with the crap of people, And the great thing about that's another part of real estate, marinas. What's great with that is that especially, in most places, men will do anything to keep their boats. They don't mind leaving their wife, their house, their car, don't touch the boat. So they will pay their boat slip fee, because if they don't, you basically lock their boat, just like you lock the content of someone's storage to sell it off. You can do the same thing with a boat. So we typically don't have any problems collecting on boat slips.
They pay a lot for boat slips.
Yeah. And so the cons would be you have to give people a quality product, because when they pay for one night of a getaway or business travel, they want to make sure they have something good. So the challenge is always making sure that your standards are maintained, that you have a good team in place. At our hotel, we have more than 45 employees, about 30 of them are part-time, 15 are full-time. And with hotel, that's the other cons is that you are really at the mercy, quote unquote, of whatever brand you decide to put on your hotel. If you decide to be a brand name, just like we're here, Hyatt, Marriott, Best Western, Travel Lodge, which is what we are. But on the other hand, you also have the support of these big companies, but you also are dependent upon all of what we call the OTAs, which are the online travel agencies, Expedia, Booking.com, and Travelocity. So how many of you have seen an ad on TV for one of these companies, Expedia, Travelocity, right? When you book a hotel room, are you tempted to book on those channels, on those websites?
Yeah.
Right? I see. All right, so what these guys do is just provide you a vehicle to book when you could go directly to the hotel, and that's costing us 15%. Please stop. You can look at their prices online, but then you can go onto the hotel website and then book at the same rate, and at least save that hotelier 15% profit. So that's the thing about hotels. It's profitable, but there's also a lot of people feeding off your back, which is not the case in multifamilies.
Yeah.
And so you also have the team part where you have to manage a lot of people. And then you have the liability part, which, like you talked about, Monique, you have, with 9,000 people going through our hotel, we have our share of lawsuits for, oh, I tripped and I fell. And I'm like, well, man, you were looking like this for the security cameras before you tripped on nothing in front of us. It's like, no, we're not giving you any money. This is a big scam. This is, so you always have those. You have the ones who unscrew the drain by the pool and then they fall into the drain later. And it's like, no, there's like, thank God there's not a lot of people around. So they see and they're like reporting it to us and, they write us a quick little, testimonial about what happened.
We'll talk about asset
Yeah.
protection.
So you have to have a real, you have to be strong and not minding the ebbs and flows of all of that. So, and then another thing is Airbnb. We also actually have our hotel rooms on Airbnb, believe it or not. And people do rent our hotel rooms through Airbnb. But I was, since our hotel is Travel Lodge, which is part of Wyndham, they just had, until yesterday, their big yearly conference in Las Vegas. And so rented the whole Mandalay Bay Conference Center, and then we had a big party at the end that they rented the whole pool area. I mean, I've never seen that many people belonging to the same organization in one place. All of the Wyndham hotel owners and then the Wyndham employees and vendors. It was insane, but at the closing statements, we had the president of the American Housing and Lodging Association, and what these guys are doing is they're waging a big war on Airbnbs. In Las Vegas, where I live, anyone from Vegas here? Me! That's it?
I was more.
Well, come to Nevada, you don't have to pay state taxes, and it's a lot of fun. But the president of the American Hotel Association was saying that they don't like Airbnb, and they're doing everything they can to shut it down. So Airbnb is a great business model. We all love it. We have our own cabins at the marina, at the resort on Airbnb. But make sure that you are in a town that is Airbnb friendly, or if they're not friendly, like Las Vegas has become, where now you need a permit and they're really going to crack down on you and fine you $1,500 per day or something.
LA passed the law.
Yeah, you got to make sure that you're in a town who at least has regulations, is not going to change them, or something that's Airbnb friendly. But that's a great way of
Or make sure that your
money
business model
cost
still
of
works, even if the Airbnb stops.
Yeah,
You can use your property in a different way.
So I think that's it.
All right, awesome. Okay, we have
time for a few quick questions, and then, okay. Sorry. I have more handheld mic.
I promise.
Hello, everyone. My name is My name is Claudia. I have a question for you guys. It's more advice. So I find myself in a situation where my husband and I have finally been able to save enough money for a down payment. We just moved from Manhattan, which is super expensive, to LA, which is almost cheap. So the money that we have, it's probably going to get us a 2-bedroom apartment, I would say at most. However, because of all this talk about a recession coming, and nobody really knows how that's going to affect the market, but we were thinking about buying in January. And now we're thinking, what if we continue to rent?
Right.
And use that money for investing, and that's why I'm here.
Yes.
Why would you guys invest?
Do that. Anybody disagree with that? Do that.
It just depends. Yeah, I mean, it just depends if you wanna, there's so many reasons to buy a home versus not buying a home. If you're gonna be there a long time, you can do a low down payment. You can sometimes do 3% down. And if it's cheaper to own it than rent it, then it could make sense. It's kind of more your what, right? You gotta really know what you're trying to achieve there. But for some people, if you're gonna raise your family and you love this house, you're gonna stay there a long time, it could make sense. But you can also get in on your primary and borrow really low money, very little down, and then still have money left over to invest. So again, it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, I rent, so I decided not to buy.
Yeah.
I took that money that I was gonna buy, so, for example, in your situation, took that money, invested it instead. Now I have money coming in to my financial household every month instead of going out, right? Like, so for me, but it goes back to knowing your what. I wanted something that was gonna serve me today. So you have this money, how do you want it to serve you? So I think really thinking about your what is really important to figuring out the path. But I think that personally, I think it makes a lot of sense to rent right now, invest the money in safer investments, and put that money to work and wait till the market drops and then maybe buy a primary.
And then go buy. And sometimes if you really want a house, you may kind of split the difference and buy a multifamily owner occupied. You live in one unit, rent out the others, have your tenants paying your expenses, your house hacking, and then you can. So that's if you really want to own your house, you can do it that way. Split the difference.
3% down too.
Yeah, you get FHA 3.5%. Sometimes there's 0% down.
Yeah, and like a fourplex, and sometimes you can buy a larger home and then rent out the other rooms. That also works as well. It's just knowing that you're gonna just be prepared to know that cycle is coming, and when you purchase, it will lose value. That doesn't mean that you won't get cash flow, it's just that equity piece will drop. If you're comfortable with that, then that's okay.
That's why it's always good to buy for cash flow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you're still making money because the prices can go up and down.
Yeah, and so
Right.
you're buying for that cash flow, exactly.
All right.
Can I add to that?
Thank you.
No, sorry. Our time's too short, so that was good. You can answer the next one. Okay, go ahead.
She had the question. Right there,
Yeah.
she's standing.
Well, you
Okay,
can go
you're
next.
next.
Hi everyone, my name is Shavina and I just want to say thank you to you ladies for all the information. I have a question specifically for Michelle with land. I would have never thought to think about that, so I guess my question is, as far as like if you bought a property with a house and maybe it wasn't in a less desirable neighborhood, you can kind of do things to fix it up and kind of be like to sell it to get it off your hands. What would entice you to buy land in a certain area or actually make you not buy it in a certain area? What would you look for?
So like I said, the 3 types of properties I would look at are infill lots in the city, basically. And the second type of property would be infill lots. Basically, it's a subdivision that is already built out, and then there's one lot that is there that nobody has built on. And so that would be one. The other one would be properties basically, if you look, for example, in Phoenix, Arizona, we're in Maricopa County. On the outskirts of Maricopa County, there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of construction, there's a lot of movement in between that quarter between Tucson and Phoenix. So this area of growth, path of growth of bigger cities is another area where we like to invest in land. And people that like to buy the land are either people that are looking to, from an investment standpoint, buy land cheap right now that is gonna, appreciate in value. Or there's a lot of people that are buying it because they want to retire and they're thinking about, either retiring in Arizona or Florida. And so they, we primarily buy land across the south of the US. And a lot of our buyers are from the north of the US, trying to buy land south. The third type of property is recreational property, is people that want to be, for some reason or the other, off-grid, panning gold, riding their ATVs, camping. I mean, we've had all kinds of crazy people wanting the land for crazy, even for an airstrip. I don't know what they were gonna do, but we sold the 40 acres to them and I was done. But so all kinds of reasons why people will buy in more rural, parts of counties. And the hunting is another big driver, on the recreational side. So that was one question. So those are the areas or the property that I would be attracted towards. The ones that I would not be interested in, for example, are like little strips of land, which if they're in the right spot, I would still buy them, but sometimes there's measuring errors, surveying errors, and then all of a sudden you find yourself a tiny little strip of land, like why would you want to do that? Except if that is on a big freeway and I can put a billboard and I can have a company pay me $3,000 a month, to put a billboard, then it's okay to buy that little strip of land. But there is junk land. There's subdivisions that have been, touted as the next Palm Springs all across the, southwest of USA, and where there's nothing going on. And
location.
And so you're gonna be able to buy it cheap, but are you gonna be able to sell it quickly? So
sometimes it's a neighbor that wants it.
Yeah.
It's kind of brother land.
And another thing that you can do is that you can aggregate. So you can buy, pieces of land that are together and aggregate and start the preliminary, not necessarily permitting, but drawings on what potentially could be put on a piece of land, and then you can that right there will add like 3 zeros to your profit with a flip.
I know somebody who does that. He buys land and then, he goes even further. He'll make a plan. He gets it entitled, so it's ready to develop. He's fixing up the land, putting in tons of value, because then somebody buys it and it's like, okay, here's that subdivision, there's the complex I can build, it's all done, it's all ready, the permits are done, I just have to break ground. So that's what he does.
So you can aggregate, you can also subdivide, you can buy, an 80-acre tract and then subdivide, and you make, we've had 40-acre parcels and we, split into, 5 ways, and with just the sale of the first 5 acres, we've recouped the investment with the other 35 acres, and so there's so many ways to do it.
Awesome. Okay, one last one. Sorry.
It's you.
Yep.
It's
You
you.
did it.
You've been trying.
Hi, my name is Dawn, and I have a question for Paige. I, like you, have had a construction company for, I still have it, 28 years. And I'm a small boutique company, but I'm so tired of the transactional piece of it. It's over and over and over again, the same thing. It doesn't get me cash flow unless you keep some of the properties.
Right.
So my question to you is, I also lost over $1 million in
I'm so sorry.
well,
Did you
how
learn?
long? Yeah. But what I wanted to know is, how long did you grieve and, go through that? Because it really was a grieving process. And what did you do to get yourself back on track? And, how did you regain your confidence? And also, I want to hear your bragging. A little bit of bragging about your cash flow and kind of what your monthly, because that's so inspiring to everybody here. Like all of you ladies talked about, it's completely inspiring for each one of us.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, so what did I do? Yeah, it took me about 3 years. I went away from real estate investing for 3 years. I did lick my wounds, but I felt really great in that I did. I set out to pay everybody that I owed money to, I paid them in full. And because of that, by the way, ladies, walking in that integrity, I still have investors today that invest with me because of that. So yeah, I did go away for about 3 years. That's not to say, I think I took about 6 months off where I was just like, oh, what am I gonna do now, right? So I started a couple of other little businesses that were completely not in real estate. And they were doing okay. I was cash flowing, I met my husband, and he knew I wasn't happy, and he just said to me, what are you doing? Just go back into real estate. And I was terrified. I have to tell you, everybody, I was terrified, but I'll tell you, I wasn't gonna let that experience break me because I did the right thing. And if you remember when I told you my story, I started 4 million in debt. I built it up to where I had 20 million to lose. So
Well bragged.
Well,
Thank you, Paige. I think it's great to be able to say, I lost 20 million, because that's the point where you have 20 million to lose. Most people don't have 20 million to lose, so good for you.
Thank you. Okay, and so for my cash flow, it really, I love my portfolio. I've actually got over 100 active notes at any given point. And they average about 50,000 plus, per note that I buy. There are others that are cheaper. But in terms of my cash flow, about 1 out of every 3, out of those 23 different exit strategies, we use 4. And about 1/3 of the notes I get to reperform. And so we'll hold on to those and cash flow them, for the duration. Sometimes we'll only hold on to them for a couple of years, and then we'll sell them to another note investor and recapture that capital. But I'm generally anywhere between 15 to 25,000, depending where my portfolio is, because again, this is not tenants, and that's per month. This is not tenants. So, the borrower, once they're reperforming, and as you know, how many people have refied a house, right? So when, the borrower has that option, and so we just get paid in full the amount of money that we're owed.
Yeah.
So it does vary at any given time, depends on if we're being bought, but my goal is to be near you about 75,000 a month, and I'll get there. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I wish we could take more questions, but we are really running behind. So, thank you to all of our amazing